think I found a new clue that might tell us where Dave actually is when he is in the Stargate. So let's get started. Hey, hello, and welcome to my channel. And as you can see from the title, today we're talking about 2001 A Space Odyssey. And in particular, we're going to take a look at that Stargate sequence when astronaut Dave Bowman takes a pod ship into the Jupiter monolith after leaving the Discovery 1 ship. Because I found one very strange detail inside the Stargate sequence that can give us a clue as to where Dave really is, and it may not be where you think. So let's get started. But first, I guess we should meet our astronauts, Dave Bowman and Frank Poole, who are on board the Discovery 1 ship on their way to Jupiter for what they think is a scientific mission. But the ship's supercomputer, the HAL 9000, knows that their mission actually involves an investigation linked to that monolith that was found on the moon. But Dave and Frank don't know that. Now, when things start to go wrong, we see Frank is in trouble outside because his air hose has been pulled out, and Dave will go outside to get him, but has trouble getting back in the ship because Hal has seemed to malfunction, and in fact, Dave has to go and shut Hal down, which he does do. But right after this, we see a title card that says Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite. And if this was important enough to actually show us, then its meaning must be important. After this, we see the mysterious monolith floating near Jupiter. We then see the Discovery 1 ship, also now near Jupiter. After more eerie monolith shots, we see the Discovery 1 ship now appearing quite small next to Jupiter, a reminder that Dave is really out here in the vastness of space, basically alone, which makes what he does next all the more strange because Dave apparently leaves the Discovery 1 mothership. But why would you do that if all of your food and water was on the larger ship? Because these pod ships are very tiny, and there can't possibly be much food or water on board one of these. Which begs the question, where did Dave think he was going? And did he expect to come back? Now, I want you to notice, as we enter this Stargate sequence, there are many geometric lights and patterns that pass us by, of all different colors. Though, as I've mentioned before, we don't see any of that reflected in Dave's helmet. What we see reflected on Dave's helmet is the control panel. It's this. Those same shapes are here, and we can prove this is just the control panel reflections because Frank had the same thing reflected in his helmet, and he never entered the Stargate. But then we get this jarring, random shot of Dave's face, and there is now something new reflected in his helmet. I'll put two arrows on this pic. It's two round, white orbs of light. But just before and after this shot, we saw this and this, which aren't really two round white orbs of light. So, why aren't we seeing these colors reflected in Dave's helmet? We then get more of these type of colored lights, and again another shot of Dave's face, looking nervous. But the reflections in his helmet are the same, just the control panel of his pod ship and these two orbs of light. We don't see this. And then immediately after this shot, we get more of these geometric type of patterns, none of which are reflected in Dave's helmet, So I have to ask the question, where is Dave exactly? We are sort of led to believe his ship is traveling through this bizarre Stargate. But where is the Stargate? Since Dave's helmet doesn't seem to reflect any of it. I have my own thoughts as to where Dave is and how he might be traveling there, but we'll get to that in a moment. After some more of the fast moving Stargate shapes, again we get a quick shot of Dave, although this time there is only one bright white orb reflected on his helmet, possibly because of the angle he's at. But a round white orb is literally the only shape we haven't seen in this Stargate. Then the entire Stargate seems to turn horizontal, and again we see a shot of Dave looking more and more distressed. This journey is obviously having a real physical and psychological effect on him. It must certainly be real to him. Again, there are two orbs of light, and we don't see any of the horizontal shapes from the Stargate reflected on his helmet. We don't see any of this stuff reflected. So, how do we answer where Dave may be right now? Well, we may have to get into a few unusual cosmological concepts. Now, one of my theories as to where Dave might be involves the cosmic concept of wormholes. These are hypothetical or theoretical structures that connect distant points in space time and allow you to travel very fast, like this diagram, which shows the pink line as the normal way between 2 points, but B is the wormhole, a quicker way to go. I should also say a word about those two white orbs in Dave's helmet, because I think it is the pod bay door open, the bright white light, possibly double reflected through the window of Dave's pod. So, could these horizontal slices we see in the Stargate maybe be what your surroundings look like if you're passing through a wormhole? And also, why are these round white light reflections still on Dave's helmet if he's now in a wormhole? If that is the pod bay door reflected through his helmet, which I think it is, then it would suggest that Dave must still be in front of the Discovery 1 and in front of an open pod bay door to still have that reflection on his helmet in the Stargate. I think it must be put forward then that Dave's pod and the Discovery 1 ship both went through a wormhole type structure before Dave ends up in that strange room. So it seems the Jupiter monolith may contain some sort of wormhole that allows travel through space. Not really that far fetched when you consider that the monolith also contains what looks like the birth of stars. So, to sum up, today we took a look at that Stargate sequence from 2001 A Space Odyssey and the strange clue I found that involves these two white orbs of light reflected on Dave's helmet. I felt those orbs begged the question of where Dave really is, because the only lights we see reflected in Dave's helmet are the lights of the control panel, same as Frank's helmet showed, except for these two white lights. But we never see two round white lights anywhere at all in the Stargate sequence. Nor do we see any of the Stargate patterns ever reflected in Dave's helmet. So, where exactly is Dave? Well, I feel these round white lights must be the pod bay door open, reflecting the light out, probably double reflected through the window of the pod ship, because it's the only light that looks like that. So, how can Dave move a far distance, as the Stargate sequence seems to show, if he's just sitting in one spot, possibly still in front of the Discovery 1? Well, I am going with the theory that a wormhole structure may be involved and may actually be inside that strange monolith. Well, that's my new video about the possible strange location of Dave and the Stargate in 2001 A Space Odyssey. I hope you liked it. Also, I know my theory about the wormhole may be a bit unconventional, but I think it's fun sometimes to introduce new theories that's not the same old thing we've already heard. And I'm working on something for next week, and I hope to have that up soon. Also, let me say a big thank you to my awesome comment section. You always notice so many details and have some interesting theories of your own, and I enjoy reading your comments. Also, YouTube does now have this hype button on their mobile app, and if you click it, it does help smaller channels like mine. Of course, it always helps if you hit that subscribe button and like the video. But either way, my name is Shim. Thank you for spending time with me, and have a great day.